Everyone remembers Robin Williams for the laughter. He was the man who could step into any room and turn silence into applause, sorrow into joy. But for Sally Field, her memories of working with him carry something deeper. Moments of sensitivity, empathy, and compassion that were rarely seen by the public. On the set of Mrs. Doubtfire in 1993, what she experienced changed the way she remembered her co-star forever. What exactly did she witness, and why did it leave such a lasting impact? The beginning of an unlikely partnership. When Mrs. Doubtfire entered production in 1993, Sally Field was already one of Hollywood's most respected actresses. With 2 Academy Awards under her belt, she was known for her serious dramatic roles, her discipline, and her ability to bring emotional truth to the screen. Robin Williams, on the other hand, was famous for his relentless energy, his improvisational genius, and his ability to make people laugh in ways no one else could. The two might have seemed like an unlikely pairing, but that is precisely what made their collaboration so unique. The film itself told the story of Daniel Hillard, a father so desperate to remain close to his children after divorce that he disguises himself as a Scottish nanny. Williams was cast in the lead role, while Field played Miranda Hillard, his ex-wife navigating the painful realities of separation and single parenthood. The premise was comedic, but beneath the humor was a deep exploration of family, responsibility, and the cost of broken relationships. For the film to succeed, it required both levity and weight, 2 qualities that Williams and Field would bring together in remarkable harmony. From the very first days on set, Sally Field noticed Robin's unusual rhythm. He would deliver a few takes exactly as written, following the script carefully. Then, suddenly, he would break free. With no warning, he would dive into improvisation, voices, gestures, one-liners that no one expected. It could have been overwhelming for many co-stars, but Field didn't resist. Instead, she adapted. She chose to meet his energy with her own steadiness, letting her character respond naturally. That contrast became the backbone of their on-screen chemistry. Director Chris Columbus recognized the magic immediately. Williams was impossible to contain, so Columbus set up multiple cameras to capture his every move. The unpredictability could have made the set chaotic, but instead, it became a kind of dance. Robin's wildness balanced by Sally's grounded presence. Field later said, "Working with Robin was like catching lightning in a bottle. You never knew what was coming next, but you knew it was going to be brilliant." A friend who could read the room. The set of Mrs. Doubtfire was often filled with laughter, but in the middle of production, Sally Field experienced one of the darkest days of her life. While preparing to shoot the emotionally charged courtroom sequence, she received a phone call that left her devastated. Her father, who had suffered from health problems for years after a stroke, had passed away. The news was sudden and crushing. Field was a consummate professional, the kind of actress who believed the work had to go on no matter what. She returned to the set, attempting to hold herself together. She wasn't crying, she wasn't breaking down. She was trying to bury the grief beneath the discipline of acting. But Robin Williams noticed what others didn't. He watched her quietly, his instincts telling him that something wasn't right. He approached her gently and asked, "Are you okay?" At first, she tried to deflect, but the truth came out. "My father just passed," she admitted, and in that moment, Robin's expression changed completely. Without hesitation, he told her she needed to leave, to step away from the set and be with her family. Robin didn't stop there. Using his influence as both the star and a producer, he spoke directly to director Chris Columbus and insisted that the schedule be rearranged. "We'll shoot around Sally today," he said firmly, and that's exactly what happened. The rest of the cast and crew adjusted while Field went home to process her grief and make arrangements with her brother. Years later, Sally would say this was the moment that revealed the side of Robin few people ever saw, a man who was deeply intuitive, compassionate, and ready to act when someone needed him. "It's a side of Robin that people rarely knew," she recalled. He was very sensitive and intuitive, protecting the vulnerable. Robin Williams's compassion was not reserved only for his co-stars of equal stature. He extended it to the most vulnerable around him, including the young actors who were just beginning their careers. One of the clearest examples came from Lisa Jakub, who at only 14 years old played Lydia, the eldest daughter in Mrs. Doubtfire. Lisa was a Canadian teenager juggling the demands of school and acting. 2 months into filming, her high school decided the arrangement was no longer acceptable. They sent her a note saying, "This isn't working for us anymore. Don't come back." For a young actress who already felt different from her peers, it was a crushing blow. She later admitted that school had been her one anchor of normalcy in an otherwise unusual life, and losing it felt like losing her balance. Robin Williams noticed her distress. Unlike many adults in Hollywood who might have dismissed the struggles of a child actor, he paid attention. He asked her what was wrong, listened carefully, and then took action. He sat down and wrote a heartfelt letter to her principal. In it, he explained that Lisa was simply trying to pursue her education while working, and he urged the school to reconsider its decision. He asked them to support her, not punish her, for the unusual path her career demanded. The principal received the letter, framed it, and even displayed it in the office, but never changed the decision. Lisa was not allowed to return. Still, the gesture meant the world to her. Decades later, she recalled the story publicly, noting how Robin's empathy and effort made her feel seen and valued at a time when she felt isolated. "It was just amazing," she said. "He didn't have to do that." But he cared enough to try. For Sally Field, hearing about what Robin did for Lisa only confirmed what she already knew, that her co-star was far more than a comedian. He was someone who could recognize pain in others, whether in a seasoned actress hiding her grief or a teenager losing her place in school, and respond with genuine kindness. This pattern of behavior showed a consistency in Robin's character. He wasn't just funny on screen, he was humane behind it. Protecting the vulnerable wasn't a performance. It was who he was, a legacy of kindness on set. For audiences around the world, Mrs. Doubtfire became one of Robin Williams's most iconic performances, a comedy that balanced laughter with the painful realities of divorce and family separation. But while moviegoers remembered the disguises, the slapstick, and the famous one-liners, those who lived through the filming carried a very different memory. Robin Williams' kindness. To Sally Field, this quality mattered more than the comedy. It was the quiet heart that made working with him unforgettable. Robin never acted like the set revolved around him, even though he was the unquestionable star. He understood the pressure and exhaustion of long shooting days and went out of his way to ease it for others. Crew members later recalled how he made a point of learning names, asking about people's lives, and checking in on them. During lunch breaks, instead of isolating himself, he often sat with the crew, joking with grips and electricians, or chatting with the makeup artists about their families. He had a gift for making people feel noticed, no matter their role. In an industry where technicians could easily feel invisible, Robin reminded them they mattered. This generosity extended to his co-stars. Sally Field, playing Miranda Hillard, was his on-screen opposite, an ex-wife caught in the middle of heartbreak and parental responsibility. Their characters clashed, but in real life, their partnership was built on deep respect. Robin admired Sally's steadiness. While he would often spin a scene into unpredictable directions with improvisation, she grounded the moment, giving it truth. Sally, in turn, admired Robin's courage to push boundaries and his boundless imagination. They never competed for the spotlight. Instead, their balance created a rhythm that lifted every scene higher than it had been on the page. Director Chris Columbus later emphasized how vital that chemistry was to the film's success. Robin's wild energy could have unmoored the story, but Sally's calm brought it back to emotional reality. Columbus often adjusted filming strategies, setting up multiple cameras to catch Robin's spontaneity, while allowing Sally to anchor the emotional thread. It was this delicate dance, unpredictability paired with poise, that gave Mrs. Doubtfire both its comedy and its heart. For Sally, these memories remained vivid decades later. What she remembered most was not the chaos of Robin's ad-libs, but the humanity behind them. He made people laugh, yes, but he also made them feel valued. Every moment on set was infused with a warmth that turned colleagues into friends and a film production into a kind of family. That was Robin's true legacy, a kindness so consistent that it became the heartbeat of the set, invisible to the audience but unforgettable to those who were there, the final struggles. By the early 2000s, Robin Williams's public image was still that of a beloved comic genius, but privately, his health was beginning to fail. In 2013, he had remarried and was working steadily, but there were signs of unease. His television project, The Crazy Ones, was canceled after one season in 2014, a disappointment for someone who had spent decades thriving in the spotlight. At the same time, he was dealing with personal changes and the lingering sadness of past divorces. In May of that year, doctors diagnosed him with Parkinson's disease. For a man whose entire craft relied on quick thinking, physical agility, and razor-sharp wit, the thought of losing control over his body and mind was terrifying. Parkinson's is known for tremors, stiffness, and memory changes, symptoms that directly attacked the qualities Robin valued most in himself. But after his death, the truth turned out to be even more tragic. An autopsy revealed that he had actually been suffering from Lewy body dementia, a rare and aggressive brain disorder that causes hallucinations, paranoia, severe depression, and cognitive decline. It is often misdiagnosed, and Robin himself had no idea what he was really facing. His wife, Susan Schneider, later described the disease as the terrorist inside my husband's brain, unpredictable and relentless. Those closest to him noticed the changes. He grew more anxious, more withdrawn, and struggled with memory lapses. For someone who had built a life on spontaneity, it felt like the ultimate betrayal. Still, he rarely spoke openly about the pain. He smiled, joked, and continued trying to work, all while fighting a battle no one could see clearly. On August 11, 2014, Robin Williams died by suicide at his home in California. The news stunned the world and left friends like Sally Field devastated. Tributes and Sally Field's lasting memories. The shock of Robin Williams' death on August 11, 2014, spread across the globe within hours, leaving millions in disbelief. News outlets reported it with somber urgency. Fans flooded social media with tributes, and colleagues in Hollywood struggled to find the right words to honor a man whose presence had been so vibrant and constant. For many, it felt impossible to imagine a world without Robin's humor, his energy, and his unmatched humanity. From world leaders to lifelong friends, the outpouring was immediate. Former President Barack Obama released a heartfelt statement that perfectly captured Robin's wide-reaching impact. He called him an airman, a doctor, a genie, and a nanny, referencing the range of roles that had become cultural landmarks. Obama's words underscored what so many already felt, that Robin's work touched every corner of the human spirit, making him not just an entertainer but a source of comfort across generations. Robin's closest friends in comedy, Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg, also shared their grief. Billy Crystal, who had shared countless stages and charity events with him, broke down during a tribute at the Emmy Awards, describing Robin as the greatest friend you could ever imagine. Whoopi, who co-hosted Comic Relief alongside him for years, simply said, "It feels like I've lost part of myself." Their words echoed the collective sentiment of millions. Losing Robin was like losing a piece of joy itself. Amid this chorus of tributes, Sally Fields stood out for its raw emotion and intimate perspective. In her statement, she wrote, "I feel stunned and so sad. Robin was a lightning storm of comic genius, and our laughter was the thunder that sustained him. He was brave in his personal battles and was generous to the core. This is truly the loss of a great man. Unlike many, Sally had witnessed firsthand the quiet compassion behind his comedy. In interviews nearly a decade later with Variety and Vanity Fair, she admitted she still thought of him often. She described him as the best acting partner she ever had, explaining that every moment with him was alive, unpredictable, and deeply honest. More than the laughter, she carried the memory of how he stopped filming in 1993 so she could leave the set to grieve her father's death, an act of kindness that had stayed with her for decades. For Sally, Robin was not only a gifted performer, but also a humane friend who understood people on a deeper level. She once summed it up in a single metaphor. Working with Robin was like standing next to the sun. You couldn't help but feel its warmth, but if you looked too long, it could break your heart. It was a reminder that behind the brilliance that uplifted so many was a man quietly burdened by struggles few ever saw. Her words, combined with the countless tributes from colleagues and fans, have helped shape how the world remembers Robin Williams, not just as a comedian or actor, but as a soul whose kindness was as profound as his talent. Robin Williams left behind a legacy of laughter, but for those who knew him best, like Sally Field, his greatest gift was his kindness. On screen, he was larger than life. Off-screen, he was the friend who noticed when you were hurting and made sure you didn't have to face it alone. What about you? Do you still go back to Robin Williams's movies? Or do you think younger generations need to be introduced to his brilliance and compassion? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a story like this.